Hi, welcome to Concession Impressions, your one-stop shop for all film opinions that you need to know. My name is Michelangelo and I'm joined, as always, with...
Me, Charles Halbeck.
Alright, let's get into it. Today we are reviewing the movie Don't Worry Darling, also known as DWD. Have people ever said that?
Not that I'm aware.
Oh, okay. I always could never remember the name of this film, and then DWD, Don't Worry Darling, kind of made sense a little bit. But I think what the true name of this film is not Don't Worry Darling. DWD I can finally figure out what the name is after watching the film. It's Don't Watch This Film.
Good joke.
Nice. Thank you.
Well, it's so interesting because the script for this film was like a very hot script. The Blacklist is a place where screenwriters can post scripts for review and possibly get them picked up by studios, and it was like the hottest script on the Blacklist for a very long time. And so I'm very curious, having seen the final product now. I really want to go back and read the script, which I haven't read yet, and see if my suspicion of this just not being directed specifically enough is the issue, as opposed to the story itself being just kind of boring. Because that was my overall impression of the film, in one word, was I was bored.
Yeah, I hate to say this, and especially like in a movie theater sense, that there are several times during the film that I wanted to look at my phone to see what time it was, because I was like, I know this movie is 2 hours long.
For some reason it started feeling like 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Oh, it definitely feels longer than 2 hours, but it is 2 hours. And I think, but there's like different times where I was like, when is this movie gonna be over? Like, I'm kind of done with this now. Like, I don't know. There are so many problems with it. I hope that wasn't actually, from what you just said, I feel very, not high hopes for this Blacklist. Was that what you called it?
Blacklist? Yeah, Blacklist is a website.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if this was a hot movie, then I also would want to read the script, because I feel like it didn't feel like it was a good script, or it had some like interesting ideas perhaps, but I feel like none of that came to life in the actual product.
Right.
And I just think wasn't interesting, and also didn't really make sense for a lot of parts. Like, it felt very like, here's your Hollywood film wrapped for you. Here's a fork. Let me cut the steak for you kind of situation,
And it certainly felt a little spoon-fed, especially towards the end. And without spoiling too much, this film is more or less basically a combination of the movies. What is that movie called? Stepford Wives, mixed with Gaslight, another famous movie from like the 1940s, mixed with Black Mirror. That's basically what this movie is trying to be conceptually.
Oh, Black Mirror. Maybe that's where I kept thinking, like, this feels like I've watched this before.
That is the whole problem, is that I can point to a scene and be like, oh, this is exactly a scene from Black Mirror.
Yeah,
this
that
is
makes
exactly
so
a
much more
scene
sense
from Stepford Wives. This is exactly a scene that is analogous to Gaslight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like any of these movies are horrible references. They're all great references. And this movie, I think, has a lot of things going for it. It just doesn't land the plane. It's a joke if you've seen the movie. Which, that is another thing, is that a lot of the details never get picked up or fully explained, which is that is one of my biggest qualms with this whole movie, because this whole movie is essentially a mystery movie, right? It doesn't have any detecting done throughout the movie at all. And so you're just left like really confused and lost until the last 30-ish, 45-ish, whatever minutes. And then at that point, everything starts twisting in these unexpected, unearned ways in terms of character. The movie does a lot of random surreal moments, but those are never really fully developed. And I say I'm on the fence. I wasn't like entertained at all really through this, but if you really like Florence Pugh, who she's pretty great throughout this. I think she absolutely carries the whole movie. Any moment that I was even about to be entertained was because of her. And the rest of the movie, I just don't watch. It's just watch Stepford Wives, watch Gaslight, much better movies.
Okay.
Gaslight is where we get the term gaslighting, by the way.
Oh, it comes from that movie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, should we just go into the spoiler section?
Wait, hold on. Before I want to get into that, I feel like we should give, for the viewers who haven't watched the film yet, whatever kind of summary we can give of this film. I feel like this is probably the hardest film for me so far to, like, give a summary of. Cool. So, the movie we watch is Don't Worry, Darling. To give a brief summary, it follows two characters, a couple, who live a perfect life, and the wife is slowly starting to unravel and question the questionable life that they're living. It's too perfect to be real, in a way.
Yeah. And this is like, she doesn't necessarily question anything. It just slowly starts to unravel around her.
Yeah, that's the...
She doesn't have much of a character, which is surprising that she comes off so likable and is sort of engaging, and that's all just down to Florence Pugh being an incredible actress. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have any moments where she seems to be... Well, she has a few towards the end, but for most of the movie, she doesn't have any moments where she seems to be, like, having any kind of dreams of her own, any kind of character motivation, any kind of anything, which I suppose is sort of part of the point, but it's too long that we get that kind of feeling. We spend too much time with that version of this character, and we should have had more development sooner.
Yeah.
And with various little things, like there are these little moments early on that could have been really interesting, like the eggs cracking and there's nothing inside of them, the plane crashing, and we see it disappear and we don't know where it went. How does somebody lose a son and have no repercussions whatsoever throughout the rest of the town? The fact that the town is shaped like this perfect spiral, the different characters that work throughout the town that seem to have no lives whatsoever. This is why I'm really curious to see how the script is written, is because those are a lot of things that are video game things. And I think potentially Olivia Wilde, who I actually am, I really like Olivia Wilde, as an actress at least. As a person, I have no idea about her. As a director, I'm mixed on her, but I've been a fan of her ever since she was 13, not age 13, her character named 13 on House. Great character. Had a lot of fun with her. Anyway, but yeah, so I think a lot of these things were meant to be like little subtle hints that, oh, this is all a virtual world.
Hold on.
That
we haven't even done spoiler warning yet.
Okay, I guess not.
This whole episode is we were sucked into this movie too much, Chase. The movie that we just watched had, I think, terrible like pacing and like storytelling, and it was just all over the place, and it's messing with us, Chase. We're having an unorganized episode. Well, fair warning, spoilers from here on out. We already gave our reviews, which is don't watch this film. Okay, so you were saying that the biggest spoiler is that it's all a simulation, just like our real life.
Right, we're all in the Matrix. It takes too long to get there, and there's no steps along the way in which you're given like an interesting mystery, an interesting build. It just, like, in the third act, it like twists and it starts revealing all these characters that happen to know it's real, and they just guide her along the way. And then it starts, and then like I think that the most unearned thing was when after she kills her husband and is getting away. This is the like final events of the movie. All the wives turn around and they're now on her side, I guess, or like they're disobeying their husbands or somehow no longer under the spell that this technology puts them under. And that felt totally unearned.
Like, that's what I was saying in the beginning, that it just felt like so we just spent the first hour and 40 minutes just like doing nothing. Yeah. All right, here, let me just like quickly wrap everything up in a neat little...
nice little bow.
Clearly,
you hated this film, which I find so interesting, because I just find it just like
I think it's
a very meh film.
It was the biggest letdown so far, because also I will say that I am a fan of Harry Styles. Not his music. I don't even... Is he One Direction guy? Is that who he is?
Yeah, but he's left One Direction. He's on his own. He's a solo act now.
Okay, so I've never listened to his music. I probably heard it. I mean, he's probably famous enough that I've heard some one of his top songs or something like that. But
I think he's like the quote-unquote most famous man in the world right now. Yeah.
Interesting. Right. Well, him and Chris Pine's wife in the movie were both in Eternals last year or
Gemma
year
Chan,
before.
yeah.
But also, he was in Dunkirk, and I thought he did a really good job in that film.
It's a very small role in Dunkirk, but he did a good job.
I think he did a good job in that film. I actually liked it. I was like, wow, he's doing good. So I was excited to watch him in this film, and I do think he also did a good job. Like, yeah, I think nothing in this film was really that good, in my opinion. So, but I know it just like it was the biggest letdown of this year for me. I think I was excited for this film, and I kind of was heavily let down. So,
yeah, I mean, I didn't really care for his acting in this that much. I think he is passable as an actor, but I really want to see him like fully embody a character and not just feel like a teenage pop star. Because he's still... like, that was one of the weirdest parts for me, is I still feel like he feels like a teenage pop star and married to Florence Pugh's character, who's like an adult woman. It didn't quite mesh right.
Everyone was laughing at the part where they go to real life, and he was like a nerdy...
He was an American, not British. It was so funny. But yeah, they made him like this like greasy, nerdy Reddit user type, incel type, listening to Meninist, which is like the opposite of feminist, is Meninist crazies online.
Yeah.
Getting red pilled.
Yeah. When they were showing it, every time they showed him in the real world in the movie,
they made him look really ugly. I think that's why.
Yeah, and everyone was laughing. Everyone was like brought out of the film and like, what? He looks so weird.
This is alternative Harry Styles.
Yeah.
Like alternate reality.
Alt universe Harry Styles.
If he didn't go on X Factor and didn't become part of One Direction.
Yeah, right. Exactly. If One Direction never happened. Okay, so I just want to say also some things that kind of in the film were just like, what's going on here? I don't know. I think just like all of the story beats kind of were just all over the place. But I think the stupidest thing in this film, I just want to say really quickly, is that car chase. At the end of the film, there's a car chase that didn't make any sense, and it was just completely stupid. I think like car chases are so interesting in film. I don't know why this is the case, but recently I've been like really noticing and like paying close attention to car chase sequences, and I think this is like, I think goes in my history book of the worst car chase sequences in film that I've ever seen.
Interesting. Why did you hate it so much specifically? Because like, I don't think it was like a great car sequence, but it wasn't like...
It was comical. It was like watching Austin Powers, like, it felt like, what's happening? Like, why? Okay, so for instance, the whole sequence starts weird, where she's told to go out and get in the car and drive away. Instead, she walks out and she just like stands there for 10 minutes looking around and everyone's yelling. And then she's like, oh, it's right, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive away. And then at that moment, everyone in red rushes out and tries to stop her.
The NPC characters.
Yeah, no one stops her while she's just standing in the middle of the cul-de-sac and just like looking around at everyone. Not until she gets in her car and successfully starts driving away that they all start to stop her. 2, while they're driving down, the guy pulls out and like tries to hit her in like the big truck. She easily like goes around it, and then there's like a few cars, they're like, oh, we're gonna cut her off and take a right here, and then they just like don't show up until like very later. It's like, why did they take a right there? Because it obviously didn't help them at all.
Also, we get several... This is another problem with the direction of the movie. We get several shots of the shape of the town, which is this like weird spiral thing. But it doesn't feel like you're driving through a spiral town at all. Yeah. It feels like you're driving through a normal like cul-de-sac or something.
Exactly.
And so like that's just a failure of developing the sense of space.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wait, hold on. And then they get out into the desert, because this is the next point. and the two cars are there side by side, and they're trying to like trap her and stop her. And then for some reason, the doctor is in another car driving at them. And it's like, why? Why is he there, first of all? Second of all, why is he driving at them? And why is he yelling at them like, stop her!
Idiot.
Stop her! And then it's like, oh, she stops. And then everyone's like, oh, I'm driving at you. And then they all run into each other and they all blow up and die. That's all. Yeah. It felt like, I don't know, again, I said Austin Powers. Do you remember Austin Powers? When he's like in the like, what is it?
The cement
roller thing. Yeah. And then he's like, stop! And they're just like going at him like really slowly, and it's like a really long shot of just like him getting run over.
There were a few scenes like that where they were
like when the wife comes in and it's like
and she walks for like 20 minutes.
Yes, the scene is like so long. And
it's comical. But so this is another problem with this film, which goes solely to the directing, and this is again why I want to read the script, is I don't think Olivia Wilde knew how to develop a sense of mystery or a sense of foreboding, a sense of unease, any of that. And I think she tried with several of these like holding on too long kind of takes in a way that's sort of reminiscent of something like Kubrick would do, where he would like linger in a space until in a way that made you feel uneasy. But it didn't here.
Yeah.
Everything was a little too pretty. Everything was a little too in the right place and ordered for that. And that was sort of the problem. I just every aspect of this, I just think it was not fully developed from a directorial aspect. I really think the directorial aspect is what failed here. And I don't even think like Olivia Wilde is necessarily a terrible director. Booksmart is her other film, and that's all right. Like that was her first film, and it was, I thought, pretty good for her first film. This is a step back. But I hope she gets more movies in the future. Maybe stick to comedies.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can trust her after this film anymore.
Because that's the thing, is this is a horror film. It doesn't ever feel like horror.
Is it? Oh yeah, it doesn't feel.
The concept is a horror concept.
It doesn't feel like horror. It doesn't even feel suspenseful. It doesn't really even feel like a thriller to me.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a mystery, even though it should be. It should be a horror mystery.
It just felt like a big waste of time.
Yes. And you're just kind of like...
You're just repeating nothing over and over again.
It does repeat itself. Like the same mood, the same scenes, the same thing. And not in a way that could have been like interesting. Like if we see that they're doing things exactly the same way. This is another thing that could have been stolen directly from the Stepford Wives movie. You see that at one point. Things return to normal and everything is mechanical. And that's... have you seen Stepford Wives?
I have not.
Should I spoil it?
I haven't seen any of those films you actually said.
All right, I won't spoil it. Go watch Stepford Wives, and it's a very similar concept, and it is directed, even the modern one is directed, actually I think the modern one might be directed slightly even better than the original one from like 1960 or something. Yeah, it has Nicole Kidman. She's great in it. It's fun. It's a fun movie. Yeah, that's how you build a mystery. That's how you use the language of cinema to tell a story.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I don't even know what else to say about it. I know it's kind of, we didn't really talk about it too much other than just like a few points. I just think I feel like they repeat so many scenes. Yes. There's nothing to talk about in this podcast because it's like they're pointless shots that I feel like didn't really add anything. Like they were just like, okay.
Because they had no subtext.
Yeah.
And they added nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If there was subtext throughout any of this film, it would have been a stronger film. And that's why I think it could have been a good film had there been a few different decisions made.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it feels like it's almost like at the mood board stage, because that's what I kept thinking is like you can tell that the director has these images in mind for how they're going to show the uplink process, and you can tell They have this aesthetic in mind from these like 1950s mid-century modern movies and mid-century modern taste for how the world is supposed to look, and you can tell a lot of these different choices are there in their infancy, but they are not developed at all. And so we're just getting the repeated notes of the same taste over and over and over again until the third act, when there's just these like random twists that don't feel earned at all.
Yeah, I think the character doesn't earn it. The story doesn't earn it. There's nothing that kind of leads to it. It's just that's another thing that I thought of. Why now? Why her? There's so many things that just felt not explained and didn't make sense. That why did she start falling out? I guess because of the song, but it didn't
we never could explain the song at all. I mean, we kind of do. They show what the song is finally at some point. I think it was a Billie Holiday song, but we don't really get the significance of it or how it relates to their relationship. Is what I think it was supposed to relate to. I guess it was a song that they listened to prior to them being uploaded to this thing. They're not uploaded. She's like, that was another thing, is I wanted a scene after this movie ended to see her take those weird eye things off, see her dead husband lying next to her, and the people in the real world are presumably coming after her that are a part of this weird secret society. There's so much left on this table that is so juicy that you could play with. Even the character that Olivia Wilde is playing has such an interesting perspective on this whole thing, because she's the only woman in there that chose this herself, and it's briefly mentioned that she has kids that died in the real world, and here they're alive in this perfect world. So now her whole backstory is just about that, instead of kind of going deeper into this trauma experience and then explaining how it corrupted itself, and that's why she feels guilty, and that's why she's now changed her mind at the end, is helping basically destroy this world now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Or
I don't know.
I mean, I don't even know if they're gonna come after her, because the one lady killed Chris Pine randomly.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And is
that also came out of nowhere. It's not even memorable because it came out of nowhere. Although Gemma Chan had one of the only good moments in this movie that I was actually fully engaged with, which was at the dinner party where she fights back and calls out Florence Pugh's character. That was fun. I enjoyed that moment.
Yeah, I think that dinner scene maybe was the best part of the film for me.
Yes,
I felt
agree.
It felt interesting, but it was way too late where I didn't even care anymore.
Yeah. You know what was also annoying about this film is the entire press that Olivia Wilde was giving was this is so much sex in this movie, and it's all from the vantage point of women, and it's there's 2.5 sex scenes, and then we get a Von Teese strip show in the middle of it, which I wanted to see more of, actually. They cut away from it in the weirdest, most awkward way, and then we get that weird scene of Harry Styles dancing like a monkey.
Yeah.
It's just so random. And that also was a scene where it gave made me think that Harry Styles' character was also trapped in here and an unwilling participant, and he was a monkey being controlled by Chris Pine's character.
I mean, I guess
which was a more interesting movie.
I guess.
I don't know. Could have been a more interesting movie. I don't know. His character just kind of being he's an incel type man who enslaved his wife is not that interesting. It's kind of the first thought I had when I saw the trailer. And I feel it's the sexual politics of 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. The women are locked in the kitchen, not even 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. The women are locked in the kitchen. They can't get away. They're just slaves to their men. That's not really today's issues.
Yeah.
Not so much, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's But I do want to. You said something very important there, which was the press. I don't know. Do you know much about the press? Like, or the drama behind this?
So there's several stages of the drama. So early on, the very first drama was about Shia LaBeouf, who was cast as
Harry
Styles' character. He parted ways with the project due to creative differences. That's all we really know. He says something, they say something, she says something. It's a very he said, she said situation.
Yeah.
Where we're not very clear about who is in the fault. It kind of seems like everybody's just an immature asshole. That's all I can see. And the only one that seemed to not really do anything wrong here was Florence Pugh, who I think stated that she didn't like the way she butted heads with the way that Shia LaBeouf acts, which is like he's one of the method guys who takes it too far, is how I was interpreting what everything was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened early on. So the production was kind of chaotic because of that. And it seems like there was some contention between Olivia Wilde, who really wanted Shia LaBeouf in this for some reason, and how she may or may not have sort of undermined Florence Pugh a little bit. And then it got kind of weird too, because then Shia LaBeouf does leave the project, and then now Harry Styles is in this, and Harry Styles is dating Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
So that's all a little like power dynamically weird. And then the most recent dramas have all been about the way they are doing press for this film, and specifically that Florence Pugh is didn't join any of the castmates for the initial press run, or the lead up to the premiere of this film. And but all the cast members, including Florence Pugh, say it's nothing. She's working on Dune, which is her next big movie maybe not the next big movie that she has that's coming out, but is going to be a big movie that's coming out in the next couple of years that they're currently shooting. And she has a big major role in that, so she is just very busy. But that doesn't seem to be totally accurate, as she seems to, as one time she posted on social media, like herself on vacation in Venice during the Venice International Film Festival. It's not one of the festivals. So she posted that she was like in the city that they had this festival, but she was on vacation at the, like, within 15 minutes of them doing the presser for that film. So she clearly was not busy at that moment.
Yeah.
And then later there was some fun, like, weird camera angle thing where it looked like Harry Styles like spat on Chris Pine.
Yeah, I heard that too.
It really looked like it in the video too. Like, the way that Chris Pine reacted was so funny.
I actually haven't even seen any of this, so I kind of want to check it out, because I heard...
It's a wild story, man.
I heard that... I heard the Chris Pine thing.
Oh, I forgot one of the other early things, but continue.
Oh, I just heard that there's a lot of back and forth between people, like, really slowing it down and, like, taking it frame by frame to see what's happening. Which is also funny, because Chris Pine, I think I also heard, made a statement saying that he didn't get spat on.
He said it was just a weird moment. Like, it just got, like, the camera angle makes it look weird, but nothing happened.
But then, like, Harry Styles did a show recently where he said, like, where he said that, like, I'm glad I'm back on tour, or some of that. Like, I just came back from spitting on Chris Pine, or some of that, which was probably a joke, but, like, still, it was, like, kind of people raising their eyebrows to it.
So a lot of people have this theory that they're doing, that all of this has been one big stunt to try and market the movie, because it kind of maybe sort of related to the trailers of the film. When you watch the film, it becomes pretty clear that that's not, like, none of the things that they were doing for this press release tour have any real bearing on the story of the film. So I don't think that's the case, but I do think towards the end here they have been playing it up in order to create a media frenzy around this film. But the thing that I was going to say is that early on, in very beginning of the press of this film, like several months ago, Olivia Wilde was served divorce papers on stage, like, live.
I heard about that too, yeah.
While giving presser for this movie.
Yeah, that's kind of hilarious,
from
actually.
Jason Sudeikis, and it was horrible. So just everything about this is chaos.
Yeah, just like the film itself. So... Man, what a crazy film in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
But anyways, I guess really quickly, let's just give our final concession score for this film. Should I go first? Are you gonna surprise what I'm gonna give it? What score I'm gonna give this movie?
I mean, I'm assuming you're giving it a Raisinette.
Wait, what? You didn't think I was gonna give it a peanut M&M?
Did I read your mind?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I would say this is Raisinettes that you bought, and then you open it up, but you open up too quickly, and then you spilled half the bag.
There's a whole narrative to this.
Yeah, it's just like, you're like, well, I guess I'm just not
and
really
then you
eating.
fell down a manhole, and then man-eating crocodiles
Ate
ate you, and then ate your legs, and then you crawled away army style into a vat of molten goo.
Yeah.
and
then
you
turn
gain
into an
superpowers, but they're not useful superpowers. They like turn you into like a puddle of water.
Yeah.
And your life is just destroyed and worse.
Form of water. Yeah. Exactly that situation. That's the ranking that I give this film.
Actually, it turns you into a puddle of Raisinettes.
Yes, you become that Raisinettes that you dropped in the movie theater that again gets swept up and then gets put in another box of Raisinettes because that's how terrible they are.
And you're sentient, but also in all these little pieces, and you're just like suffering for all of eternity.
Wow, that sounds like a more interesting movie than we just watched.
Raisinette Man.
Yeah.
Watch it now.
Exactly.
But I agree with you. Raisinette film.
Okay, cool. We agree. I think this might have been the lowest ranked movie that we've reviewed so far.
Yeah, I just think this movie is like several iterations before ready to be released. It just needs some more time to bake.
Yeah, I think the one scene that very well depicts this film is the part where Harry Styles is cooking dinner and he's trying to mash the uncooked potatoes with a bottle of whiskey. I think like that kind of sums up this film. It's chaotic, it's crazy, it doesn't make sense, and it feels like you're trying to mash potatoes with a bottle of whiskey. So there you go. That is our impressions on this film.
It's just wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, don't watch
making
this
mashed potatoes
movie.
Wrong.
Yeah. You need some butter. You need to boil those potatoes.
Boil it. Whoa! Whoever thought of such a thing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways.
I wanted to see the potential. I think it has some nice-ish cinematography, but it's kind of soulless because it's clear they're just like, oh, this is the aesthetic we want, but it didn't have any bearing on the meaning or storytelling. Like, it's just nothing about this feels developed at all, and I'm just over it. End of show.
Yeah.
Bye. We've already talked too much about this film.
All right. Bye, everyone. See you next week. Thanks for listening to Concession Impressions. The show is hosted and produced by Charles Helbeck and myself, Michelangelo White. Music in this episode was created by Joe Park. The show logo and editing was done by the fabulous Yumi White. Let us know your concession impressions on Twitter or on Instagram at Film Cookbook. I'm really interested to hear what people think could have made this film better. Also, I want to know what your thoughts are. Did Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine? Let us know. Twitter, Instagram at Film Cookbook. I hope you all have a great week. Till next time. Bye-bye.
I really want